Welcome back to Africa Uncovered. Before we begin today's story, I want you to imagine something. Imagine standing alone in the middle of a vast African wilderness. No fences, no buildings, no roads, no cell phone signal. Just endless grasslands stretching toward the horizon. At first, it feels peaceful, beautiful even. The wind moves gently through the tall grass. Birds fly overhead. The golden African sun paints the landscape in warm colors. But then, you hear something. A sound hidden beneath the wind, a low growl. You turn around, nothing. A few seconds later, you hear it again. Closer this time. Suddenly, you realize something terrifying. You are not alone, and whatever is watching you has been watching for much longer than you realized. Now let me ask you a question. If someone offered you $1 million to spend a single night alone inside Africa's most dangerous national park, would you accept? Comment yes or no below. And while you're thinking about that answer, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Africa Uncovered, and turn on notifications, because today's story might completely change the way you see nature forever. Because today, we're exploring one of the most dangerous places in Africa. A place filled with lions, leopards, crocodiles, buffalo, elephants, snakes, and predators hidden within shadows. A place where every year visitors witness moments they never forget. A place so wild that nature still makes the rules. This is the story of Kruger National Park. And before this story ends, you'll understand why even experienced rangers never let their guard down. The first thing most people notice about Kruger is its size. It's enormous, far larger than many people imagine. Covering nearly 20,000 square kilometers across northeastern South Africa, Kruger is one of the largest and most famous wildlife reserves on Earth. To put that into perspective, entire cities could fit inside it. Some countries have protected areas smaller than Kruger. When visitors first arrive, they often feel excitement. They've seen documentaries, they've seen photographs, they've dreamed about seeing lions and elephants in the wild. For many travelers, visiting Kruger is a lifelong dream. And in many ways, it truly is magical. Every sunrise feels different. Every road hides surprises. Every bush could conceal an animal. But beneath that beauty lies something far more serious. Danger. Real danger. Because unlike zoos, Kruger isn't controlled. Animals aren't separated by thick walls. Predators aren't placed behind glass. This is their home. Humans are merely visitors, and nature never guarantees safety. That reality becomes clear very quickly, especially after sunset. As darkness falls across Kruger, the park changes completely. The sounds become louder. The shadows become deeper. Creatures that remained hidden during daylight begin moving. Lions leave their resting places. Leopards emerge silently from the darkness. Hyenas begin searching for opportunities. And somewhere beyond the trees, countless eyes watch the night. For rangers, nighttime brings a different level of awareness. Every sound matters. Every movement matters. Because the wilderness becomes unpredictable. One former ranger described nighttime in Kruger as beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Beautiful because of the stars. Terrifying because you never truly know what's nearby. And that fear isn't imaginary. Kruger is home to what many call Africa's Big Five: lion, leopard, elephant, rhino, buffalo. Each one capable of causing serious injury or death. Yet surprisingly, many experts believe one of the most dangerous animals in Kruger isn't a lion at all. It's the African buffalo. At first glance, buffalo may not seem frightening. They're herbivores. They spend much of their time grazing. They don't hunt. But appearances can be deceptive. Buffalo are powerful, extremely powerful. They can weigh hundreds of kilograms. They move quickly, and when threatened, they become incredibly aggressive. Many experienced hunters once considered buffalo among the most dangerous animals in Africa. Because unlike some predators that may retreat, buffalo often fight back. And they fight hard. Stories of unexpected buffalo encounters have become legendary throughout Africa. Yet, buffalo are only one part of Kruger's danger. The true power of the park comes from uncertainty. Visitors never know what waits around the next corner. One moment, you may be watching zebras peacefully grazing. The next moment, a lion appears from nowhere. One moment, everything feels calm. The next moment, survival becomes the only thing that matters. And nowhere is that reality more visible than near Kruger's water sources. Water is life in Africa. Every animal needs it, especially during dry seasons. As rivers shrink and water becomes scarce, animals gather together. Predators know this. Prey knows this. The result is constant tension. Every visit to a watering hole becomes a gamble. Who arrives first? Who leaves safely? Who becomes the next victim? Some of the most dramatic scenes in African wildlife history have unfolded beside water. A thirsty antelope approaches carefully. A crocodile waits motionless beneath the surface. Everything seems peaceful. Then, suddenly, chaos. The attack happens so fast that many witnesses barely understand what they saw. Within seconds, the balance between life and death changes completely. And that's what makes Kruger so fascinating. Nothing is guaranteed. Every day creates new stories. Every animal faces new challenges. Every sunrise begins another battle for survival. For humans, observing these moments can feel unforgettable. For animals, it's simply reality. And that reality becomes even more intense during drought years. When resources become limited, competition increases. Animals travel farther. Predators become more active. Tension spreads across the landscape. Experienced rangers know these periods can reveal the true face of nature. Not the romantic version often shown in photographs, the real version. The version where survival comes first. The version where every decision matters. And sometimes, one mistake changes everything. To understand just how dangerous Kruger can become, we need to examine some of the extraordinary encounters that have taken place inside its boundaries. Encounters involving lions. Encounters involving elephants. Encounters involving people who found themselves far closer to danger than they ever expected. Because the stories you're about to hear prove one important truth. In Kruger National Park, humans are never at the top of the food chain. And that's exactly what makes it one of the most dangerous national parks on Earth. The next morning begins like countless others inside Kruger National Park. The sky slowly turns orange. Birds begin calling from distant trees. A thin layer of mist drifts across the grasslands. For tourists, it feels magical. For the animals, another day of survival has begun. Most visitors arrive expecting to see lions. And for good reason. Lions are among the most iconic animals on Earth. Powerful, intelligent, terrifying. Yet many people underestimate how difficult it is to survive as a lion. The documentaries often show successful hunts. What they rarely show is failure. A lion may spend hours stalking prey only to come away empty-handed. A single mistake can ruin an entire hunt. And every failed hunt means less energy, less strength, less chance of survival. One experienced ranger once explained it this way. People think lions rule the savanna, but every day, lions are fighting to stay alive, just like everything else. That reality becomes obvious when food is scarce. During dry seasons, hunting becomes harder. Prey becomes more alert. Competition increases. And sometimes, lions are forced to take greater risks. One afternoon, a group of tourists stopped near a watering hole. The scene appeared calm. Several buffalo stood drinking. Birds moved through nearby trees. Nothing seemed unusual. Then one buffalo suddenly raised its head. Its ears pointed forward. Its muscles tightened. Something was wrong. At first, nobody could see it. Then movement appeared in the grass. A lioness. Then another. Then another. The pride had been hiding only meters away. The tourists watched in complete silence. The buffalo watched too. Nobody moved. The tension was almost unbearable. For several minutes, predator and prey stared at each other, waiting, calculating, preparing. Then everything exploded into motion. The lions charged, the buffalo scattered, dust filled the air. Animals ran in every direction. For a few seconds, nobody knew what was happening. The tourists could only hear the sounds: hooves pounding, lions roaring, birds flying, chaos. Then something unexpected happened. The buffalo fought back. One massive bull turned around and charged directly toward the attackers. The force of the response surprised everyone. Suddenly, the hunters became the hunted. The lions retreated. The buffalo survived. And the visitors witnessed something unforgettable. Nature doesn't always follow expectations. Sometimes the strongest predator loses. Sometimes the prey wins. And sometimes survival depends entirely on courage. But lions are not the only masters of surprise in Kruger. Many rangers fear another predator even more. A predator so secretive that visitors often never see it. Yet it may be watching them from only a few meters away. The leopard. If lions are the kings of visibility, leopards are the ghosts. Silent, patient, nearly invisible. A leopard can disappear into vegetation that seems far too small to hide anything. Even experienced guides sometimes struggle to spot them. That's what makes them so dangerous. Not their size, not their strength, their invisibility. There are stories of tourists spending hours searching for a leopard, only to later discover it had been resting nearby the entire time. Watching, waiting, completely unnoticed. One ranger described seeing a leopard emerge from dense bushes at sunset. The animal moved so quietly that nobody heard a sound. One moment it wasn't there. The next moment it was crossing the road. The visitors sat frozen. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because for those few seconds, they were witnessing one of nature's greatest hunters. And then, just as quickly as it appeared, it vanished. Gone. Back into the wilderness. Almost like a dream. Yet perhaps the most dangerous encounters in Kruger involved neither lions nor leopards. They involve elephants. Many people love elephants. They're intelligent, social, gentle-looking, and often peaceful. But elephants are also incredibly powerful. An adult bull elephant can weigh several tons. When calm, they are magnificent. When angry, they are terrifying. Every ranger understands this. A charging elephant is not something anyone wants to face. There have been numerous reports of vehicles finding themselves too close to elephants. Sometimes visitors accidentally block an elephant's path. Sometimes they remain near a herd for too long. Sometimes they simply misread the animal's behavior. And that's when trouble begins. A warning usually comes first. The elephant spreads its ears, raises its head, makes itself appear larger. A clear signal. Move away, now. Ignore that warning, and the situation can become dangerous very quickly. One guide recalled a moment that still haunted him years later. His vehicle had stopped near a road. A large elephant bull emerged from the trees. At first, everything seemed normal. Then the elephant stopped, stared, and began walking directly toward them. Slowly, deliberately. The guide reversed. The elephant continued. The distance closed. 30 meters. 20. 10. The tourists sat in complete silence. Nobody even breathed. Then suddenly, the elephant stopped. For several seconds it stared at the vehicle, then turned and disappeared back into the bush. The guide later admitted something shocking. If the elephant had decided to continue, there was very little they could have done. Moments like these remind visitors that humans are not in control here. The animals are. And nowhere is that lesson more important than near Kruger's rivers. Because beneath the calm water hides another threat. Crocodiles. Ancient predators that have changed very little over millions of years. When people think of danger, they often imagine something loud, something obvious. But crocodiles are the opposite. Silent, motionless, patient. They can wait for hours without moving, sometimes longer, watching, waiting, conserving energy, until the perfect moment arrives. Then they strike with astonishing speed. Many animals have learned this lesson the hard way. A thirsty antelope approaches water. Everything appears safe. Then the surface erupts. The attack lasts only seconds, and it's over. Nature offers no warnings, no second chances, only consequences. This reality can be difficult for visitors to accept. People naturally want happy endings. They want every animal to survive. But Kruger doesn't operate according to human emotions. It operates according to natural laws. Life, death, survival, balance. Every predator plays a role. Every prey species plays a role. Together, they create one of the most remarkable ecosystems on Earth. And yet, even among all these dangers, there is one creature that causes fear among both animals and humans alike. Not because of its size, not because of its strength, but because of its unpredictability. The African black mamba. Few snakes inspire as much fear. Fast, venomous, extremely dangerous. Fortunately, encounters are relatively rare, but when they happen, they are never forgotten. Rangers who have seen black mambas often describe the experience with deep respect. Not hatred, not anger. Respect. Because in the wilderness, respect can save your life. The absence of respect can cost it. That lesson applies to every corner of Kruger. Respect the animals, respect the environment, respect the danger. And perhaps most importantly, respect the fact that nature owes us nothing. As another day draws to a close, the African sky once again begins to darken. The sounds of daytime slowly fade. Nightlife awakens. Predators begin moving. The wilderness transforms. And somewhere beyond the fading sunlight, a different story is about to unfold. A story involving survival. A story involving fear. And a story that proves why even experienced rangers never become comfortable inside Kruger National Park. Because the most dangerous moments often happen when people think they are safe. And what happened next would become one of the most unforgettable lessons the wilderness could ever teach. The wilderness has a strange way of teaching lessons. Sometimes those lessons arrive gently, and sometimes they arrive without warning. The story you're about to hear is the kind that many visitors never forget. Not because it involved the biggest lion, not because it involved the largest elephant, but because it revealed something far more terrifying: how quickly everything can change. It happened during a routine afternoon inside Kruger. The weather was clear. The roads were dry. Tourists filled several vehicles moving through the park. For most people, it felt like a perfect day. Animals were active. Photographs were being taken. Everyone was relaxed. Then, a guide noticed something unusual. A group of impalas suddenly froze. At first, nobody understood why. The antelope weren't feeding. They weren't moving. They simply stood still, watching something hidden beyond the trees. Experienced guides know this behavior means trouble. Animals often detect danger long before humans do. The guide immediately became alert. He scanned the surrounding vegetation. Nothing. He checked again. Still nothing. Then he saw it. A single tail moving through the grass. A lion. No, several lions. An entire pride. The hunters had positioned themselves perfectly. The tourists could barely see them, but the impalas knew exactly where they were. And that was when the waiting began. Minutes passed. Nobody moved. The lions remained hidden. The impalas remained frozen. The atmosphere became almost unbearable. The visitors sat in complete silence. Every eye focused on the same patch of grass. Then suddenly, the attack began. The lions exploded from cover. The impalas scattered in every direction. Dust filled the air. Animals leaped over bushes. Birds burst from trees. The entire landscape transformed into chaos. Some tourists screamed. Others sat speechless. Nobody could believe the speed. Within seconds, the hunt had ended. Nature had made its choice. For the lions, it was food. For the impalas, it was survival. And for the people watching, it was a reminder that the wilderness never sleeps. Yet even predators are not guaranteed success. Only a few days later, another dramatic encounter unfolded. This time involving one of Africa's most feared animals, the Cape buffalo. A lone buffalo had become separated from its herd. Normally, this would already be dangerous. Isolation makes animals vulnerable. Predators know this. The buffalo knew it too. Somewhere nearby, a pride of lions was watching, waiting, calculating. The buffalo moved cautiously. Its eyes constantly scanned the surroundings. Every sound mattered. Every movement mattered. Then the lions appeared. One, then two, then several more. The trap was closing. Visitors who witnessed the encounter later described the tension as unbelievable. Nobody knew what would happen. The buffalo stood its ground. The lions advanced. The distance between them became smaller, and smaller, and smaller. Then something extraordinary happened. Instead of running, the buffalo charged, straight toward the predators. The sudden aggression caught everyone by surprise, even the lions. Dust erupted beneath pounding hooves. The buffalo attacked with incredible force. The lions scattered. For a moment, the balance of power shifted completely. The prey became the aggressor. The hunters became the ones retreating. It was one of those rare moments that perfectly captures the spirit of Kruger. Nothing is predictable. Nothing is guaranteed. Every day writes a new story. Every hour creates a new outcome. And every animal faces decisions that can mean life or death. But perhaps the most emotional stories in Kruger don't involve predators at all. They involve families, especially elephant families. Few animals share stronger social bonds. Elephants protect each other, support each other, mourn each other, and care for their young with remarkable devotion. One ranger recalled witnessing a scene that stayed with him forever. A young elephant calf had become trapped in thick mud near a riverbank. The calf struggled desperately. The more it moved, the deeper it sank. Its cries echoed across the landscape. Soon the herd arrived. Adult elephants surrounded the calf. Some attempted to pull it free, others stood guard. Hours passed. The elephants refused to abandon the youngster. Visitors watched in silence. Many became emotional, because what they were witnessing felt deeply familiar. It looked like love. It looked like family. It looked like determination. Eventually, after countless efforts, the calf escaped. The herd immediately gathered around it, touching it gently with their trunks, protecting it, guiding it. For the humans watching, it was impossible not to feel something. Moments like these reveal another side of Kruger. Not just danger, not just fear, but connection. The connection that exists between living creatures fighting to survive. And survival is never easy, especially during difficult seasons. There are years when drought transforms the landscape. Rivers shrink, water holes disappear, food becomes scarce. The beautiful green wilderness changes color. Grass turns yellow, dust fills the air. The struggle for survival becomes visible everywhere. Animals travel farther. Predators become more desperate. Competition intensifies. And that's when Kruger becomes most dangerous. Not because animals become evil, but because survival becomes harder. A hungry predator takes greater risks. A thirsty elephant becomes more aggressive. A weakened animal becomes vulnerable. The balance grows fragile. One ranger described drought as nature's ultimate test. Everything is challenged. Everything is pushed to its limits, and only the strongest adapt. Yet perhaps the most frightening thing about Kruger isn't any single animal. It's the realization that humans are physically fragile, much more fragile than we like to admit. A lion is stronger. An elephant is stronger. A buffalo is stronger. Even a crocodile possesses advantages we cannot match. Inside Kruger, humans quickly discover an uncomfortable truth. We are not the rulers of this environment. We are guests, temporary visitors, observers, nothing more. That realization changes people. Many arrive expecting adventure. Many leave with respect. Deep respect. Respect for nature. Respect for wildlife. Respect for survival itself. Because once you've witnessed a lion hunt, once you've seen an elephant standing over its calf, once you've watched predators moving through darkness, you begin to understand something important. The wilderness isn't cruel. The wilderness isn't kind. It simply exists, following rules older than humanity itself, rules that have governed life for millions of years, rules that continue today. And nowhere are those rules more visible than inside Kruger National Park. As darkness once again spreads across the landscape, the park enters another dangerous night. The stars appear overhead. The air cools. The sounds change. Some animals prepare to sleep. Others prepare to hunt. And somewhere in the distance, a lion roars. The sound rolls across the wilderness, deep, powerful, ancient. A reminder that even after all these years, nature still speaks with authority. But the most emotional chapter of our journey is still ahead. Because what happened during one extraordinary season would reveal the true heart of Kruger. A story of loss, a story of resilience, and a story that would remind everyone why this national park remains one of the most dangerous and most beautiful places on Earth. By now, you might be wondering something. With all the danger, with all the predators, with all the risks that exist inside Kruger National Park, why do people keep coming back? Why do millions of visitors dream of seeing this place? Why do rangers dedicate their lives to protecting it? The answer lies in something deeper than adventure, something deeper than excitement, something deeper than fear. Because hidden beneath every survival story is a lesson about life itself. And nowhere was that lesson more visible than during one of the hardest periods Kruger had faced in years. The drought arrived slowly. At first, few people noticed. A little less rain, a few smaller water holes, slightly drier grass. Nothing seemed unusual. But month after month, conditions worsened. The rivers became thinner. The landscape became harsher. The green beauty visitors loved slowly faded into shades of yellow and brown. For the animals, every day became more difficult. Water was no longer easy to find. Food became harder to reach. Long journeys became necessary, and every journey carried risks. The strongest survived. The weakest struggled. Nature was testing every creature within the park. One ranger later described that period as heartbreaking. Not because nature was failing, but because nature was doing exactly what it has always done. Survival was deciding the future. Visitors witnessed scenes they would never forget. Elephants traveling enormous distances searching for water. Buffalo gathering around shrinking water holes. Predators following exhausted prey. Animals pushing themselves beyond normal limits. Everywhere people looked, survival was taking place. Yet amid all that struggle, remarkable acts of resilience emerged. Animals adapted. Families stayed together. Herds protected their young. Life continued. Because survival is one of nature's greatest strengths. And nowhere was that strength more visible than among the elephants. One evening, a ranger watched a herd moving across the landscape. The sun was setting. The air was filled with dust. The conditions were difficult. Yet the herd continued forward. The older elephants guided the younger ones. The calves stayed protected in the center. Every movement seemed coordinated, purposeful. The ranger later said something that many people found powerful. He said the elephants reminded him of humanity. Not because they looked like humans, but because they cared for one another. They faced hardship together. They survived together. And they refused to abandon each other. That image stayed with him for years. And perhaps that's why Kruger affects people so deeply. It isn't just a place filled with dangerous animals. It's a place filled with stories. Stories of courage. Stories of loss. Stories of endurance. Stories that mirror our own lives. Every animal faces challenges. Every animal experiences uncertainty. Every animal fights for another sunrise. And in many ways, so do we. As time passed, the rains eventually returned. Slowly at first, then more consistently. The dry earth began to change. Grass started growing again. Waterholes filled. Rivers regained strength. Life responded immediately. Animals returned to familiar areas. Birds appeared in greater numbers. The landscape transformed once more. Visitors who arrived months later could hardly believe what had happened. The park looked alive again, vibrant, hopeful, beautiful. Yet the lessons of the drought remained. Nature had reminded everyone of something important. Nothing lasts forever. Not abundance, not hardship, not even fear. Everything changes. Everything evolves. Everything moves forward. And perhaps no place demonstrates that truth better than Kruger National Park. Because every single day, the park becomes something new. A new hunt. A new birth. A new challenge. A new survival story. Some stories end in tragedy. Others end in triumph. Most end somewhere in between. But every story matters. Every life matters. Every moment contributes to the incredible balance that makes Kruger one of the greatest wildlife sanctuaries on Earth. And yet, despite its beauty, despite its importance, despite the millions of visitors who admire it, Kruger remains dangerous. Very dangerous. Because nature was never designed to be completely safe. The lion still hunts. The crocodile still waits. The leopard still stalks. The elephant still defends its family. The buffalo still charges when threatened. And the wilderness still follows its ancient rules. Rules older than nations, older than cities, older than human history itself. That is why experienced rangers never become careless. That is why warning signs exist. That is why visitors are reminded to respect wildlife. Because one moment of overconfidence can have consequences. Nature demands respect, and Kruger rewards those who understand that truth. As our journey through Africa's most dangerous national park comes to an end, imagine standing one last time beneath the vast African sky. The sun is setting. Golden light stretches across the plains. A herd of elephants moves slowly in the distance. Birds circle overhead. The wilderness grows quiet. For a brief moment, everything feels peaceful. Then, somewhere beyond the horizon, a lion roars. The sound echoes through the evening air, ancient, powerful, timeless. A reminder that this land does not belong to humans. It belongs to nature. And perhaps that is the real mystery of Kruger. Not how dangerous it is, not how many predators live there, not how many dramatic encounters take place every year. The real mystery is how a place so dangerous can also be so beautiful. How a place filled with fear can inspire so much respect. How a place defined by survival can teach us so much about life. Because in the end, Kruger National Park is more than a wildlife reserve. It is a living reminder. A reminder that courage exists. A reminder that resilience matters. A reminder that survival often requires patience, strength, and hope. And above all, a reminder that nature remains one of the greatest forces on Earth. So, before you leave, I want to ask you one final question. If you had the chance to spend a single night alone inside Kruger National Park, would you do it? Or would the sounds of the wilderness keep you away? Tell us your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey through one of Africa's most dangerous places, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Africa Uncovered, and turn on notifications for more incredible mysteries, survival stories, and hidden wonders from across the continent. Thank you for watching Africa Uncovered. Until next time, stay curious, stay respectful of nature, and remember, the most dangerous places on Earth are often the most unforgettable. See you in the next mystery.